Muamode share any modofo snowy, Matana say. And some would draw a coso, a way, my gun, and no enemy, I was for in the past, Udi Dimechi, na Yonkotie, and Semibi and Bra.
You go to Dr. Zato. Dr. Zato, are you for, so there are two schools of thoughts here, that the bill has already been passed. Why are we discussing it in the 9th Parliament? That's one. And so it will require just presidential assent. There's another school of thought that says that because the president didn't assent to it, it died with the 8th Parliament. So it must go through a new process in the 9th Parliament. Which of those school of thoughts do you belong to?
Thank you very much. First, just a small thing about the whole concept of LGBTQ. I believe, sincerely, and my conviction is that that thing is not about human rights. LGBTQ, or whatever you call it, has absolutely nothing to do with human rights. It has everything to do with what? Values. Values and different cultural values. In this case, a purported attempt by so-called people with so-called superior Western values to impose them on poorer countries using aid, trade, and generic foreign policy as powerful levers. Not about human rights. It has absolutely nothing with human rights. And that is the problem with it. That's why we are here where we are. That some people sit somewhere, think that they are superior, they are this thing, and that let's use trade, let's use our foreign policy, let's use sanctions, let's use the IMF, the World Bank, the Bretton Woods as vehicles, as drivers of our policies, and then impose them on other people. That is why I don't know what I hope I don't ever get to say this again. I agree with Donald Trump very well when he said that he believes, and he said, hold that. One man and woman, they were created man and woman. And they were said to say, I believe the same thing too. That anything you are doing is a matter of choice. It's a matter of choice, not about human rights. You were not born that way, you don't live that way. If you're born that way, you don't need a surgeon to make you that way. The God is the great surgeon in the world. He created that way. That's your problem. First about that. Two, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo was wrong when he did not sign this into power. He was wrong. And this, by not signing this into power, this thing, it also contributed to the massive loss of the NPP in the last elections. He was wrong. He had no business not signing this. There are two things. You are a president, the thing has come. You identify that there are constitutional challenges. You do your part. You sign it. I sat somewhere on some other media and I said, look, if I was the president, I'll hold a huge grand debate at the south wing of the Jubilee House. I'll call all the National House of Chiefs, all the big chiefs in Accra. It will be big music, big food, everything. I will sign the grand debate and let it go. Let it go to court. Whatever the judiciary says, not more my problem. He was wrong. And as I said, it contributed to the loss. I mean, the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference and all these organizations came, they begged, they pleaded, he didn't listen. He was wrong in doing that 8 courses. But the question then is, why did he do that? As a student, I consider and say, he had a reason. It's not justified. I'm not saying it's justified. Again, I want you to understand my analysis. He had a reason. Because at that time, Ghana was negotiating with the World Bank and the IMF. At that time, Joe Biden was the president of the United States. And they didn't even hide it. There was a full statement from the State Department saying that if Ghana goes along with this thing, there will be serious repercussions, financial repercussions.
Why didn't you just tell the Ghanaian people that, listen, I'd love to sign this, but because of the obvious challenge,
politics.
I won't sign
politics.
Politics. Called politics.
It's politics. It's international relationship, politics, it's diplomacy, it's this thing. He didn't. So I'm saying he had an excuse. I'm not saying it's justified. I don't want anybody to say I'm justifying his stand. No, I already told you he was wrong. But that was it, because it is true. Everybody can verify. Ghana was negotiating with the IMF for relief. It's like you are a patient, you are sick there, you need blood transfusion. That is why you even realize that people who are, because of religious reasons in Ghana, if you
can't take blood infusion,
because Ghana needed that. Nobody did. So he could say that was his reason. He could make that. I'm not justifying that. It didn't happen. In politics, the biggest crime you can pay, just like Jesus Christ died for on the cross, is to lose an election. And especially to lose it so massively. So the NPP has paid for this. And the things he was talking about, the theatrics in Parliament, in the Supreme Court, in the Jubilee House, among all the 3 arms of government, those theatrics partly contributed to the massive loss of the NPP. And God, and the gods, and democracy gave us a new leaf.
Okay.
And now we are here today. Somewhere in January, His Excellency the President, people make the president. They ask him. And that's sometimes what they hear. When you hear, people will tell you that his President Mahama is a listening president. I am saying there's a difference between listening and hearing. And what they met, this was what the president said, reported by Modern Ghana. Anti-LGA Plus bill expired with last parliament. I will reintroduce as a government-sponsored bill. Remember, part of the reasons, the problem it had was that there are certain clauses there. The one about charging it to the public, that if you say we've arrested somebody, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a judge, but I can just see a judge saying that, well, if you go to prison, we have to feed you. That is charging to this, and so it is a problem. The president could have, all these ills could have been easily cured. And the president also said, I was sending this to my attorney general. My point is that all this could have been cured if by now we had a government-sponsored bill in parliament to cure this thing. All the foreseen, the two or the reasons why it was taken to the Supreme Court, they would have been cured by now. The president said it. In fact, the president said that the bill had expired. I want you to understand that. That is the reason.
So we're at a crossroad. The president
there's no crossroad.
No, because the president says that the bill has expired. Yes, the majority leader says
he's the president of the Republic of Ghana. He doesn't just speak. He has Attorney General and Deputy General. He has a legal advisor.
That was in January. In January, yes. And we're in October.
When people talk to the president, and when the president makes a statement, he doesn't just talk. He talks after listening. The president understands this. He says it has expired. 2, he says, I will introduce a government-sponsored bill. The question we have to ask is, where is the government-sponsored bill you promised? We've seen bills. We've seen even a common bill for holiday, so that we don't go to work, was rushed in the middle of the night. A common bill for holiday. We've seen what happens to the D-levy at right now. And it's also about priorities. If this was a priority for the government, it would have gone under state of emergency or certificate of emergency. If the government wanted to do it, it would have done it. My point is that, why is it not done? Now, you are seeing these shenanigans. The shenanigans you are seeing were the same shenanigans you saw in the last parliament between the judiciary, the executive, and the parliament. To delay until when? It's the same shenanigans. Because here is the majority leader. You mean when the president said this, he didn't know? He didn't know the president said that he was sponsoring a government bill. Okay, granted that the majority leader is right. And granted it. So where is the government bill that the president promised us? Where is it? Granted he's right. Where is that bill? Okay,
good place to want to bring Elikem in. Dog, give me a minute. Let me come to Elikem, of course, because he's with the government. He probably had some answers between yesterday and now. You probably have gathered some answers. Usually, you are not allowed guests to ask questions, but Dr. Zato's question is quite a relevant one, and I'm certain you have heard him.
What is his question?
His question is that where's the promise of the government-sponsored bill?
Thank you. First and foremost, I must say in no uncertain terms that if there is any government, any regime, and any president who is committed to ensuring that our human rights and traditional values are upheld in consonance with what best practice is in this country, there's none other than the National Democratic Congress, and there's no other person than His Excellency John Dramani Mahama.
Yo, I was here for in seven and I could say, comments, and we young Fabram, comment section, I'm in and Inca Emma. Aha, Ghanatube so, and I'm more for snowy, and I'm saying, in seven, and I was here for Sadia, Macron.